Izumi is a loser whose life is terrible due to his incredibly bad luck. However, his life takes a lucky turn when the most popular girl starts dating him, transforming her into a protective girlfriend who will defend him against his life-threatening luck so she can continue getting freaky with him.
I can't get enough of these.
It's the first day of the new school year, and Izumi's mom, Motoko, wakes him up for school. Before he leaves, she warns him, half joking, half serious, that with how bad his luck is, he might not make it past the front gate. Izumi stays hopeful, but right after stepping outside, he trips over a rock and almost dies right then and there. Things get worse when a truck zooms by and nearly knocks the wind out of him, and then a bird tries to poop on him. He dodges the poop but ends up slipping again. Still, even with all this misfortune, Izumi's heart is made of gold. He helps an old lady cross the street before heading off to meet his girlfriend Shikimori, a pink-haired beauty with a beautiful smile that men are willing to go to war for. They walk to school together, and when Shikimori sees Izumi's scuffed-up face, she instantly knows he had a rough morning. But Izumi's used to it, and when he looks at her face, he thinks to himself that while Shikimori is pretty, she isn't always cute. But being a dimwit, he doesn't just think it, he says it out loud by accident. Shikimori pouts, clearly hurt by the comment. Suddenly, Truck-kun comes back for round 2 with the intention of yooting Izumi. But this time, Shikimori leaps in and saves Izumi like the human shield she is. Izumi apologizes, but Shikimori looks him in the eyes and tells him to never apologize for it. And in that moment, Izumi realizes just how cool she is and wonders if a wimp like him is even worthy of dating someone like her. At school, they go to check the class lists. Izumi feels nervous, as he really wants to be in the same class as Shikimori. She struggles to read the board because her eyesight is horrible. But Izumi's perfect 20/20 vision spots both their names in the same class. They're both thrilled, and Shikimori's friends Neko and Yui also cheer when they find out they're in the same class. Just then, Izumi's best buddy Inuzuka is there in the same class too, which makes him happy. The boys head to class first, and when Izumi turns back to say something to Shikimori, he catches her doing a quiet victory dance behind his back. And when she realizes that Izumi is looking, she gets super embarrassed. Later in class, an unlucky moment hits Shikimori when she tries to protect Izumi, when a student cleaning the board drops the eraser and it falls straight for Izumi's head. When Shikimori steps in to stop it, the eraser lands right on her head instead. She brushes it off, saying she's fine, but Izumi gently touches her head and compliments her, leaving her so flustered she has to excuse herself out of the classroom. While she's gone, a few of their classmates tease Izumi for dating someone so far out of his league, and they tell him not to drag her down by being an unlucky loser. But from outside the classroom, Shikimori hears everything the simps are saying to degrade Izumi. Then she enters the classroom calmly, and she takes Izumi with her to the library. But as she's leaving, her glare says it all, and those boys are lucky to leave the room alive. She tells and assures Izumi not to worry about what people say, and Izumi tells her he's okay, but deep down he's afraid he might hurt her just by being himself. After school is over, Inuzuka invites Izumi to hang out, and Izumi agrees, excited to spend time with his best friend. But when he goes to tell Shikimori, she says she's hanging out with her friends too, and they end up turning it into a group hangout. So now it turns into a date for the couple, with 3 lonely losers tagging along. They head to the bowling alley. Inuzuka and Neko start a goofy bet where the loser has to treat the winner to any food that they want. Meanwhile, Shikimori and Izumi are just chilling, as neither of them is good at bowling. When Shikimori ties her hair up and shows off her smooth neck, Izumi short-circuits and runs off to grab a bowling ball. While the guys are gone, the girls start plotting. They suggest Shikimori should pretend to be trash at bowling to come off as cute and helpless. Then the game begins, and Inuzuka barely wins against Neko. But Yui steals the show by throwing the slowest bowling ball ever and still landing a perfect strike, leaving everyone stunned. Shikimori decides to follow through with the plan and act like she sucks, hoping Izumi will call her cute. But when Izumi encourages her to do her absolute best, she changes her mind, locks in, and shows off her real skills. She crushes strike after strike like a pro, and the crowd cheers for her. But Shikimori only cares about one person's reaction, Izumi's. She high-fives him afterward, proving that she's clearly the top in this relationship. After bowling, the group splits up to go their own way. While Izumi is ready to reward her massive victory with something special, Shikimori simply asks him to walk her home, which he agrees to do. On their way back, a strong wind blows a newspaper straight at Izumi's face, but Shikimori blocks it. He apologizes again for dragging her into his unlucky mess, but this time she's genuinely upset by his apology. She tells him not to apologize, as she's used to his bad luck. Though Izumi is happy to hear that, he still feels guilty, and he truthfully admits to Shikimori that he sometimes wonders if people are right about him being a burden. Shikimori stops in her tracks and confronts Izumi's words, not wanting him to feel that way. Suddenly, a store sign falls right at him, but Shikimori kicks it away with ease to save Izumi. She grabs his hand, looks him in the eye, and tells him to stick with her, and that she will always protect him, no matter what anyone else says. Izumi melts on the spot and blurts out that he loves her, sending Shikimori into full-blown panic mode as she tries not to explode from happiness. A few days later, the school hosts a sports tournament where the boys play soccer and the girls play volleyball. Izumi is excited to join, but Inuzuka reminds him that with his horrible luck, someone might slide tackle his head straight into meeting ace. Just then, Shikimori shows up looking as stunning as ever, casually charming Izumi with her presence. She asks what time his game is, but Izumi doesn't know yet. So they check the schedule on the bulletin board together, and Izumi is looking forward to cheering for Shikimori during her volleyball game like the supportive boyfriend he is. But his excitement quickly dies when he realizes their games are happening at the same time, which means that they won't be able to watch each other in action. While Shikimori seems okay with it, she admits she's a little nervous about facing a strong opponent on the volleyball court. To lift her spirits, Izumi leans in with some heartfelt words, promising to support her even if they're apart, and his words make her blush heavily. Later, the soccer match kicks off, and Izumi immediately eats dirt on the first play due to his bad luck. Shikimori watches from the sidelines and tries to send him some good luck from afar. At first, it looks like it works, as Izumi gets a golden chance to score a goal. But the anime gods hate him, and when Izumi tries to kick the ball, he kicks the air and falls flat on his face. Watching this, Shikimori can't help but feel even worse for the disaster she calls her boyfriend. As Izumi slowly gets up and brushes himself off, a soccer ball comes flying straight at him without warning. Shikimori shouts to alert him, but it's too late, and he gets smacked and knocked out cold. Later, he wakes up in the infirmary with Shikimori sitting by his side. He immediately feels guilty and asks if she's going to miss her volleyball game, but she smiles and tells him she still has time. Then she gets a little flirty, gently playing with his hair. She notices a scar above his eyebrow and asks about it. Izumi admits he's gotten hurt a lot in the past, saying he has scars all over because of his constant bad luck. Shikimori says she's no longer surprised by anything he says, as he's clearly been through everything. She then tells him how much she worries about him and asks him to stay close to her whenever he can, which makes Izumi feel like he's the girlfriend in the relationship. When she gets up to leave, he tries to regain his pride and says he can protect her too. That makes Shikimori pause, and with a teasing grin, she climbs onto the bed and straddles him. He turns bright red and reminds her about her volleyball game, but she jokes that maybe she'll just hide under the blanket next to him and cuddle, making him even more flustered. She then says she's just messing around and finally leaves, but as soon as she steps out, she blushes hard, wondering what in the world she just did. Meanwhile, the volleyball game kicks off, and Shikimori's team is getting crushed by the opposing side, mostly because of the star player Kamiya. At the same time, Izumi returns to the soccer field, where he finds Inuzuka crying over their team's loss. Trying to cheer him up, Izumi suggests they go watch the volleyball match. They head over, only to find their class team losing, and the energy in the crowd is low, and Yui, who's supposed to hype them up, isn't helping at all. Seeing Shikimori, Izumi immediately cheers for her at the top of his lungs, which lights a fire in her. Suddenly she starts playing like she's powered by rocket fuel, and as the game goes on, Izumi spots Kamiya and is surprised. Inuzuka notices and asks if he knows her. Izumi says yes, but doesn't go into any details. Thanks to Shikimori's burst of energy, her team catches up and eventually wins, and the whole class erupts in celebration. Izumi rushes to congratulate her like a supportive boyfriend, while Kamiya quietly slips away. Back in class, everyone praises Shikimori for her amazing performance, and Izumi, proud as ever, congratulates her again. She tells him that it was all because of his cheering during the game, but he compliments her athletic skills and admits he's nothing compared to her, especially since he got knocked out of his own match so early. Shikimori reassures him, saying he tried his best and always looks adorable when he puts in effort, which makes him blush. Suddenly, a group of girls barges into the classroom, asking for selfies and autographs from Shikimori. That's when Izumi realizes that his girlfriend is basically a school celebrity, and is everyone's girlfriend. Over the next few days, girls keep surrounding Shikimori to get close to her, and other girls also approach Neko to ask for her pictures. And Izumi starts feeling like he's losing her. He shares his worries with Inuzuka, who tries to calm him down, but just then, a ball flies toward him. Quickly, Inuzuka pushes him out of the way and takes the hit instead. Izumi instantly feels terrible, as his bad luck has now hurt someone else. While he tries to take care of Inuzuka, Shikimori watches from afar and misreads the situation. She starts to think that maybe Izumi has developed a new interest in dudes, and when her jealousy, her fangirls ogle over her angry face. After school, Izumi prepares to go home but feels weighed down by guilt, as not only did Inuzuka get hit, but other misfortunes followed him too, one of which ended with Inuzuka going home with a broken arm. He's caught up in his thoughts, feeling a little lost about Shikimori's rising popularity. Just then, he slips on the stairs and almost gets hurt again, but Shikimori shows up just in time to catch him. She scolds him for going home alone, and he tells her it's because she's popular now, and he didn't want to interfere. She looks at him like he's talking nonsense, and reminds him that he's the only one she wants to walk home with. That brightens Izumi's spirits instantly. Still, she accuses him of spending more time with Inuzuka lately, and he just smiles and says he missed her, which makes Shikimori's tough exterior melt away. A few days later, while in class, Inuzuka plays the wingman and hands Izumi 2 movie tickets he got from a coworker. Inuzumi asks why he's giving them away, and Inuzuka explains that he's too busy to use them before they expire, so he tells Izumi to keep one and give the other to anyone he wants. Meanwhile, Shikimori sits nearby, casually listening in and making awkward little faces, clearly wanting to go but doesn't want to say it outright. After Inuzuka leaves the room, Izumi walks over to Shikimori's desk and asks if she'd like to go see a movie with him, and she says yes before he can even finish asking. That night, back at home, Izumi is thrilled about the movie date. He sits in his room thinking about how awesome it is that he's going out with Shikimori, but then he snaps himself back to reality, reminding himself that the last time they went out, because of his bad luck, it rained heavily, and he lost his wallet. But despite everything, Shikimori smiled the whole time. This time, he's determined to make sure everything goes perfectly. He starts packing the essentials, from bringing to tying a string to his wallet so it won't get lost again. But once everything is packed, the bag turns out to be so heavy that he topples over while trying to carry it. Meanwhile, at Shikimori's house, she's flipping through a Vogue magazine on how to look effortlessly cute. She tries on different outfits but doesn't feel satisfied with any of them. Her older brother hears the noises she makes and walks in to check what she's doing. Shikimori tells him she's going to the movies with a friend tomorrow. But being curious, he asks her who this friend is that's making her act this way. But she tells him to mind his own business. He shrugs and wishes her luck before leaving. The next day, Izumi leaves the house early, but he's not carrying the bag because the strap snapped just as he was heading out. He hits a few unlucky bumps along the way, but he's used to that by now. Then he spots Shikimori already waiting for him. He runs up, surprised she arrived earlier than planned, and when he sees her up close, he's stunned by how beautiful she looks and tells her she's really cute. On the train ride, Izumi's imagination kicks in. He daydreams about watching a romance anime with Shikimori, and when the characters kiss, he imagines kissing her too. Shikimori notices his red face and asks if he's feeling sick, but Izumi insists he's fine and is just excited about the date. At the movie theater, they start deciding what to watch. Izumi asks what she'd like to see, but she says she's fine with whatever he chooses. Izumi gently insists that this time she should decide what they watch. He says that she always puts him first, but he wants to know more about her tastes. Blushing, Shikimori chooses a movie with a scary-looking poster, which shocks Izumi as it looks like a horror movie. She explains she saw great reviews on social media and had been meaning to watch it. Even though Izumi doesn't like horror films, he thinks this could be his chance to be the brave one if Shikimori gets scared. But once the movie starts, they watch the Walmart version of it, and instead of his initial plan of being the brave one, it's Izumi who's practically shaking in his seat. Luckily, Shikimori notices and grabs his hand to comfort him, and he gladly holds on. After the film, Izumi is still shaken, and Shikimori apologizes for picking such a scary movie. But Izumi thanks her, saying he would have passed out if she weren't there holding his hand. He adds that having her by his side made him feel stronger, which makes him sound a little silly, but he means it. They decide to get food next and head to a fancy restaurant in town. Shikimori spots a dish she really wants, and it's expensive, but Izumi reassures her that he has been saving for this day. But when he reaches for his wallet, it's missing again, and it turns out that the string he tied to it snapped, leaving him devastated. They leave the restaurant, and Izumi is crushed because he wanted the day to be perfect. But Shikimori stays kind and understanding, just like always. Just then, they run into Izumi's parents, who ask them where they are heading. Izumi informs them what happened, but they're not even shocked, as they know their son's cursed luck better than anyone. To help their son out, they invite Shikimori to join them for dinner, and she gladly accepts. At home, dinner is served, and Shikimori is grateful. Just as they're about to eat, a rogue fork flies across the table toward Izumi's face, but Shikimori catches it like a ninja, saving him once again. His parents are amazed and start clapping for her. They keep piling more food on her plate, saying she's welcome anytime, and Shikimori gets flustered. After dinner, she helps Izumi's mom wash the dishes, and as they clean up, his mom quietly thanks Shikimori for staying by her son's side. She starts sharing stories about how Izumi used to get hurt constantly when he was younger, so often that it felt like he was competing to die more than Subaru. She jokes about how unlucky he is, and says she hopes Shikimori doesn't lose patience with him. She also warns that dating Izumi means sharing some of his bad luck, but Shikimori responds gently, and she says that while it's true Izumi attracts accidents, she's never seen that as a flaw, because in Shikimori's eyes, she admires Izumi's kindness and how he always puts others before himself, even when things go wrong. She says that Izumi is strong, not weak, and that she'll protect him just as much as he protects her. Her words leave Izumi's mom speechless. Later that evening, they wake up Izumi, who had fallen asleep on the couch, and he's surprised to find her in the middle of a heated Wii boxing match with his dad. They both go all out and end in a draw. Akisada gives Shikimori his respect, and Izumi feels happy seeing them bond. As he walks her home, he apologizes for how the day turned out, but she smiles and tells him not to worry. Then she asks him what kind of movies he likes, and suggests they go see another one sometime soon. A few days later, summer arrives. Izumi and the others are talking about where to go for the break. Shikimori walks up from behind and hands Izumi a cold bottle of water to help with the heat. She tells him to stay hydrated and smiles at him, making him melt on the spot. Then, Yui gives Izumi an umbrella to keep him in the shade, and Neko teases Shikimori, saying she looks jealous of them, but Shikimori doesn't react at all. Neko suggests they go to the beach for summer break. Shikimori gets excited, and so do Neko and Inuzuka, but Izumi and Yui prefer winter and want to stay home. Izumi understands why Shikimori is excited, but he feels left out because every time he goes to the beach, he gets sunburned and has to sit under the umbrella. Suddenly, Inuzuka suggests going to the river instead. Being a real bestie, he worries about Izumi getting sunburned again. Izumi tells them not to treat him differently, but they express how they want to go somewhere that everyone can enjoy. They ask Yui what she thinks, and being a bit of a lazy scrub, she just wants to stay home, turn on the AC, and relax. Yui warns them that the river might be dangerous for Izumi because of his bad luck, but Shikimori says not to worry, as she'll be there to save him. A few days later, the exam schedule is released, and Neko immediately uses it as an excuse to trick the group into going to the mall. She tells them it's for a study session, but once they arrive, Neko drops the real reason that they need swimsuits for their upcoming trip to the river. Inuzuka immediately protests, saying only weirdos wear swimsuits at the river. Neko gets mad, but he reminds her they should be studying instead of shopping. Meanwhile, Shikimori quietly asks Izumi if he's planning to swim. The question makes him freeze as flashbacks of his tragic river experiences play in his mind. He quickly says he'll pass, and Shikimori gives him a long dramatic side-eye and says how it's a shame that he won't be showcasing his body, which instantly makes him feel uneasy. She then announces that if he's not swimming, she doesn't need a swimsuit either. Yui and Neko hear this and roll their eyes, leaving the couple alone with Inuzuka. With the group now split, Shikimori wonders what they should do, but suddenly, she notices Izumi glaring at a swimsuit poster featuring a model in a super revealing swimsuit. Jealousy hits her hard and she quietly excuses herself, leaving Izumi totally confused. Instead of heading outside, Shikimori walks straight into the swimsuit section to find the exact same swimsuit from the poster. She picks it up, holding it nervously, and just then Neko and Yui appear. Neko's jaw drops and she immediately starts teasing, asking if Shikimori's auditioning for Playboy's Mansion. Shikimori turns red and starts flailing, trying to explain herself. She says it's not what they think, and that she only grabbed it because Izumi was staring at it earlier. Neko and Yui grin and say this just proves how competitive Shikimori is. She's confused by the comment, so Neko takes her down memory lane. When Neko first saw Shikimori, she thought Shikimori was beautiful and graceful and wanted to be her friend. But it wasn't easy, as Shikimori is so different from Neko, and it got harder when Shikimori started dating Izumi because they're always lovey-dovey. Neko says she's tall, tomboyish, and kinda tacky, while Shikimori is the perfect woman she wants to be like. Then, the class held a basketball game between the girls. Neko wants to take it easy, but Shikimori was serious and scored basket after basket on Neko. Frustrated, Neko steals the ball and sinks a three-pointer, showing everyone she's the best player there. They go back and forth, refusing to lose, and after Neko wins, she invites Shikimori to lunch, which is how their friendship started. Back in the present, Shikimori looks surprised at the story. Before she can respond, Neko pushes her toward the changing room, telling her they'll help her pick out the best swimsuit. Meanwhile, Izumi and Inuzuka are at a cafe, going over math problems. After a while, the girls return, and Shikimori's face is flushed like she just did something unholy. Izumi asks why she looks so red, and she tries to play it cool, insisting it's not like she bought anything or anything like that, but he's not buying it, as her guilty smile says otherwise. The next day, after exams, Izumi walks home with Shikimori, sulking after his bad luck strikes again, when all his pens broke during the exam. Shikimori tries to comfort him, but things get worse when a random dog sees Izumi's defeated expression and barks at him like he's a criminal. That night, he lies in bed with his head buried in a pillow, questioning what he did in a past life to deserve so much misery. Then, his phone rings, and it's Shikimori. She knows he's probably sulking and says she just wanted to hear his voice. Instantly, Izumi feels better. He moves to his window and tells her to look outside at the North Star shining above. She asks if he likes stargazing, and he says yes, but explains that whenever his dad took him stargazing as a kid, it always rained thanks to his never-ending bad luck, so he never actually saw any stars. Shikimori promises to take him somewhere with a sky full of stars one day, but Izumi surprises her by saying he wants to take her somewhere she wants to go instead. Shikimori asks why, and he tells her it's because she's always done things for him, and now he wants to do something just for her. She's quiet for a second before revealing that she doesn't have a particular place in mind. Izumi misunderstands and thinks she doesn't want to go anywhere with him, but she clears it up quickly and says she wants to go wherever he wants to go, as seeing him happy is what makes her happiest. That's enough to make Izumi start crying, and Shikimori softly says it's time to sleep. Izumi tells her that after hearing her voice he feels so much better and wishes he could see her right now. Shikimori turns bright red and hangs up in a hurry before she starts tweaking from embarrassment. She throws herself back on her bed, heart racing, butterflies in her stomach. Kicking her legs under the covers, she smiles, whispering to herself that she also wishes she could see him too. A week later, after exams finish, Izumi and the gang head out for their summer trip to the river. When they see the river, everyone is amazed that Izumi's bad luck didn't mess things up this time. They're all excited to swim, but Inuzuka and Neko want to start with a barbecue, while the others watch them like they're wild animals. They get ready to cook. Inuzuka, feeling confident, starts chopping an onion like he's a chef, but he does it all wrong. The girls quickly sit him down and tell him to stay out of it. Then Izumi picks up the knife, and everyone worries he'll mess up or worse, cut himself in a bad place. But surprisingly, Izumi slices the onion like the second coming of Gordon Ramsay. He explains he's used to helping his parents cook, and Shikimori totally melts knowing her future husband can cook. Inuzuka says Izumi might get popular with those skills, but Shikimori tells him to shut his mouth. They keep making skewers and lighting the charcoal. While everyone focuses on the grill, Shikimori quietly makes something else. When the food is ready, she gives Izumi a special dish she cooked just for him. Izumi happily takes a bite, but immediately pukes it out. He drops to his knees, seeing Jiraiya calling him to join him from the other side. Shikimori tries it too, and also falls to her knees, and everyone realizes she can't cook at all. Still, Izumi takes another bite, and Shikimori worries for him, but he says he'll keep eating because she made it for him. That fires up Shikimori's competitive spirit, and she vows to learn how to cook just for him. After eating, they all want something sweet, and Izumi, like a true chef, pulls out some s'mores he made. Everyone is impressed by his creativity, and he whispers in Shikimori's ear how much he wants to put his creamy s'mores in her mouth. Naughty. She wastes no time gobbling them down, and when he asks how they taste, she teasingly says she'd love to eat his sweet white creamy s'mores every day, making him almost lose it. After cleaning up, the others run excitedly to the river. Before joining, Shikimori secretly asks Izumi to make more creamy s'mores in the future, but this time just for the two of them, no one else. They play in the river, dipping their feet in the water, and Shikimori feels nervous about showing Izumi her new swimsuit. Meanwhile, the others happily mess around and call them to join. While alone, Izumi spots a little girl getting swept away by the current, and he knows he has to act fast. The stupid girl panics, crying for her mama. Izumi pops up from underwater to save her, but she hits him in fear. He calms her down and uses her floaty to help swim to safety, lifting her above the current, just as Izumi is about to join the others. The gods of fate say Isekai, causing Izumi to get cramps and start drifting away. Meanwhile, Neko encourages Shikimori to show Izumi her swimsuit and jump in. But when Inuzuka notices Izumi missing, they all search for him. They find the little girl crying for Izumi, and Neko panics, unsure of what to do. Shikimori strips off her top and quickly jumps in to save him. In the deep water, Izumi starts losing consciousness, thinking he might actually join Jiraiya in death. But Shikimori has other plans, and she saves him from drowning. After getting him safe, she scolds him for not calling her, but when he apologizes, she softens and drops her anger. The others rush over, worried, and behind them, the stupid little girl and her clapped mother thank Izumi for saving her child. Izumi calms them down, and the kid kisses him, making Shikimori jealous. With the danger averted, they keep having fun, splashing each other and looking for fish. Izumi notices Shikimori's cute swimsuit and feels something rise, but instead just compliments her look. Later, they visit a nearby market to buy dry clothes. Then at an ice cream store, Izumi and Shikimori get their ice cream first. Shikimori offers Izumi a lick, and when he agrees, they both feel a spark, imagining something freaky. She tries to return the favor, but before she can, Inuzuka shows up and takes a big bite from Izumi's ice cream, leaving them shocked and without ice cream. Shikimori takes revenge by eating a huge chunk of Inuzuka's ice cream with a spoon, almost giving herself a brain freeze. A battle breaks out between them while Izumi is left without ice cream. Hours later, they head to the train station to go home and find a completely empty train car. At first, they excitedly chat about the trip, but after a few minutes, everyone falls asleep except for Izumi. Shikimori tries to stay awake but ends up resting her head on Izumi's shoulder, and he folds inside. To distract himself, he remembers the great trip he had with everyone, which he will treasure forever. Despite his bad luck, Izumi feels lucky to have such good friends and an amazing plot armor girlfriend named Shikimori. Hours later, Izumi falls asleep, and Shikimori wakes up, gently pulling his head back to her shoulder so he can rest, returning the favor. Days after the river trip, Izumi gets sick from a bad sunburn. Shikimori calls him to cheer him up, and while they talk, Izumi sees a TV report about an upcoming fireworks festival. His excitement sparks, and he tells Shikimori he wants to go with her, which she immediately says yes. On festival day, Izumi's parents help him put on his yukata. His mom, Motoko, feels jealous because the fireworks remind her of her youth. When Izumi mentions that Shikimori has never seen fireworks before, his dad, Akasada, tells him to listen carefully. With a deep, manly voice, Akasada shares a secret spot to watch fireworks away from the crowd so they can have some alone time. Izumi wonders how his dad knows it, and Motoko explains that Akasada took her there when they were trying to make Izumi. Meanwhile, Shikimori struggles putting on her kimono for the first time. Her brother Fuji hears her sighs and comes to help. He makes her look good but calls her ugly before leaving, which annoys Shikimori. Izumi arrives at the festival first, prepared with multiple wallets after the last date fiasco. After a few minutes, Shikimori appears, looking cute in her kimono. They both admire each other's appearance and head inside. They explore the festival and enjoy themselves. Izumi buys cotton candy, but wonders why Shikimori didn't get one. She explains she never liked sweets, which reminds Izumi of all the times he took her out for sweet treats. But she says because of him and how much he enjoys sweet food, she started to enjoy sweets and tries to eat some. Next, they go to a shooting game with prizes. Izumi wants the prize that looks like a dog. The stall keeper tells Izumi to look cool for his girl, but Izumi's bad luck makes him miss every shot, leaving him looking like a wimp. Shikimori wants to try, and the stall keeper underestimates her because she's a girl, but she ignores him. She aims carefully, locks in, and hits every target perfectly, showing these guys she can shoot straighter than a cowboy. The stall keeper is shocked by the Vending display, and he gives Shikimori the prize, but she gives it to Izumi, telling him to keep it to remember her by, and her riz almost folded both men. At the festival, Inuzuka, Nico, and Yui hang out too. When they meet Izumi and Shikimori, the girls flock to Shikimori to admire her beautiful yukata. Seeing everyone there, Inuzuka suggests playing Capture the Fish, but turns it into a competition. At the fish-catching stall, Inuzuka competes against Izumi. Inuzuka easily catches a fish, but Izumi's bad luck causes his paddle to fall in the water. Shikimori appears, refusing to let her boyfriend lose his aura, and competes too. But Inuzuka easily beats her because Shikimori is bad at games needing patience and fast hands. Neko and Yui notice fireworks are about to start, and Neko takes over Shikimori's game, while Yui tells her to stop wasting time and watch the fireworks with Izumi. The couple heads toward the display, and Izumi plans to take her to the secret spot, but Shikimori's sandal breaks. Izumi fixes the strap, but her wounded feet make walking hard. She asks Izumi about his plans, and he hesitates, but she insists he tell her. Izumi shares the secret spot his dad told him about, which is a perfect place for couples. Shikimori gets excited and demands to go, but Izumi refuses to let her walk on her own sore feet. Feeling disappointed, she says that they can come there next year. But Izumi has a better idea. He crouches and tells her to get on his back, and while Shikimori is scared that she's too heavy, Izumi insists that he wants to carry her. She climbs on, and while it's tough at first, he manages to carry her. The fireworks start, and they admire the beauty, but Izumi keeps going towards the secret spot. Then they reach a long staircase to the secret spot. Shikimori worries she might be too heavy, but Izumi refuses to stop, keeps climbing, and says he's doing it to see her smile from the heart. Finally, they reach the top and find a quiet place with an amazing view. Izumi sits her on a bench, and together they watch the fireworks explode beautifully in the sky. Shikimori apologizes for making him carry her, worried he might think she's not cute. But Izumi uses his undeniable charms to tell her that even in her worst look, she's still cuter than any girl in the world. Then Izumi confesses that he's scared she might see him as a loser, as the year before he didn't invite her to the festival because of that fear. Unbeknownst to him, Shikimori admits she was waiting for him to ask her out last year, but she says it doesn't matter now because she's finally enjoying the fireworks with him and thanks him for the experience. After the show ends, Izumi tries to lift her again but slips. Just then, Akisada appears and catches them before they fall, with Motoko there too. They wonder why these two are here, and Motoko says they've been watching the lovebirds from behind all along. Akisada carries both and offers to drive them home. Izumi and Shikimori thank him for showing them such a wonderful place. After summer break, Izumi and the others start a new school term, and they all get busy preparing for the culture festival. Izumi is put in charge of the costume department, working with Yui and some other girls to sew costumes. Meanwhile, Shikimori joins the decoration team with others. As they laugh and have fun, Izumi feels jealous watching them enjoy themselves. At the same time, one of the girls asks Izumi for help, and Shikimori gets jealous seeing him getting close to some basic girl. Inuzuka walks by, notices Shikimori glaring daggers at him, seeing him as her rival, and thinks to himself that this chick is psychotic. A few days later, the cultural festival kicks off. On the first morning, Izumi walks through the school gates and gets handed a card with the number 44. He instantly thinks it's an unlucky number but keeps quiet. He's more surprised they're doing the same couple numbers game as last year. In their classroom, Izumi's class hold an animal cafe where students wear costumes and serve customers. When the event begins, Izumi suits up in a lion costume and tries to hype himself up, but his friends quickly burst that bubble, saying he looks even worse than usual. Just then, Shikimori shows up, looking a little self-conscious in her bunny outfit. Izumi cheers her up by saying she looks like a snack, and it immediately lifts her mood. She returns the favor, saying he looks like cool, which gets a laugh out of both of them. As the festival gets busier and everyone splits up to handle their duties, and Izumi takes on a waiter role. Unfortunately, his bad luck doesn't take the day off. While delivering food to a table, someone accidentally drops a napkin in his path. Izumi slips, but right before he crashes, Shikimori swoops in and catches him. The crowd is impressed, and Izumi is once again saved by his personal hero. On day 2 of the festival, Izumi is assigned to library duty. On his way there, he hopes his partner is someone from his grade, as spending 3 hours with a total stranger would be awkward. When he arrives, he's surprised to see Kamiya, and he tells her he's relieved it's someone he knows. As they sort books onto shelves, Izumi starts chatting about how they met. He reminds her how last year they were both on library duty, and that he knew her not only from the library library committee, but also as the volleyball team's ace. At that time, she was in the class next to his, so they naturally ended up paired for duty. Back then, he was super nervous talking to her, but Kamiya had made it easy for him. They continue chatting, and Izumi asks what her class is doing for the festival. She says they're running a cafe too, just like his class. He jokes that her class must be suffering without her, and she confirms it, saying how people literally cried when she left yesterday. Izumi brings up how popular she was with the younger students during the sports tournament. Kamiya sighs and says it's the exact chaos that makes her appreciate the peace and quiet of the library. Months ago, the first time Izumi enters the library, he's a bundle of nerves and ends up smacking his head on a desk. Kamiya calmly tells him to chill, as they're in the same grade. Izumi admits he's just anxious because it's his first time doing library duty, and Kamiya shows him the ropes, and they slowly become friends. Back in the present, Kamiya tells Izumi he seems different now. When he asks what she means, she says maybe it's because he has a girlfriend now. Izumi is stunned on how she knows that information, and Kamiya casually says that Neko told her. Then suddenly, Kamiya becomes way more talkative than usual, making Izumi feel like something's up. Out of the blue, she asks how he and Shikimori got together. He asks why she wants to know, and she says she's just curious, as she rarely talks about relationships and wants to hear about theirs. When Izumi hesitates to answer, she steps closer and even pushes him up against a bookshelf. She tells him straight up that she's interested in Shikimori, which completely throws Izumi off. For a second, he wonders if she means that she likes Shikimori in a scissor-loving way. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the school, the couple numbers list is posted on the bulletin board. Shikimori checks the list, and her face drops when she sees that she and Izumi don't have matching numbers. She looks like she's about to explode. Neko asks why she's so upset, and Yui explains that the couple numbers game is a school tradition during the festival. Everyone gets a number at random, and those who match are supposed to take a photo together, which was how Shikimori and Izumi started dating last year. After thinking for a moment, Shikimori decides what she has to do, which is find the person with the same number as Izumi and trade her number with them. Back in the library, Kamiya is still gently pressing Izumi to tell her how he and Shikimori got together. He finally opens up. He says they got matching numbers during last year's festival, and Shikimori was too shy to ask him for a photo, so Izumi suggested they walk around. Eventually, they passed the couple numbers photo booth. Izumi thought about asking her, but before he could, Shikimori boldly asked if he'd take a picture with her. He said yes, admitting he was about to ask her too. But just as things were going perfectly, disaster struck, and Izumi lost his number card. He was so embarrassed he wanted to vanish into thin air, but Shikimori told him not to worry, and they should just look for it together. He told her it was no use, and that he always lost things, but she confidently said they'd change that. After 2 hours of searching, they met the event committee president, and after some pleading, he gave Izumi a new card. They finally got their photo, and that moment gave Izumi the courage to confess, and he asked her out in the back of the school, wanting the same thing. Shikimori accepted his feelings and hugged him to express it, which is the start of their dating relationship. Kamiya lights up and calls it the best youth romance story she's ever heard since Aratagiru. But then, in a twist, it's revealed that Kamiya is the one who has the same number as Izumi this year. In Kamiya's mind, she imagines herself as a princess. Popular, admired by many, but with her eyes set on only one prince, Izumi. She watches him quietly from afar, unable to say how she feels. But before she can tell him, it's too late. Another princess, Shikimori, arrives and claims Izumi's heart first. Kamiya forces a faint smile, hiding the pain of a love that never bloomed, standing alone as the curtain closes on her story. Back at the library, Kamiya asks Izumi if he's seen the new fairy tale romance movie, and he says he hasn't. When Izumi asks her opinion about it, she replies that people who watch those movies and wish for a romance like that are often the same people who realize their love will never come true. Just then, Nico enters the library and asks Kamiya to step outside. There, Shikimori begs Kamiya to trade couple numbers with her. When Kamiya asks why, Shikimori reveals that Kamiya holds Izumi's number. Although it's hard for her wounded heart, Kamiya hands over her number to Shikimori. Izumi walks out, surprised to see Shikimori there. Kamiya tells him he can leave his shift and go with Shikimori, but Izumi refuses, as he doesn't want to leave Kamiya working alone. Kamiya blushes, her heart racing at how much Izumi cares for her. But there, Shikimori notices and understands Kamiya's true feelings for Izumi. Shikimori and Nico relax in the library, waiting for Izumi to finish, and Shikimori can't help but watch Kamiya's body language around Izumi. Later, after his shift, Izumi leaves with the girls. Meanwhile, Kamiya ties her hair and returns to her classroom, where classmates cheer her return and customers admire her beauty. But in her mind, Kamiya isn't there, as she only remembers the quiet moments with Izumi. Overwhelmed, she asks to take a break and goes to the rooftop for fresh air. Kamiya reflects on Shikimori, admiring how she openly shows her feelings, which is something Kamiya has always hidden. Suddenly, Shikimori appears on the rooftop, surprising her, and she returns Kamiya's couple number. Shikimori reveals she knows how Kamiya feels about Izumi, and Kamiya is shocked. A year ago, Izumi accidentally caused a bookshelf to fall in the library, almost hurting them both. As they cleaned the mess, Izumi told Kamiya she was a good person. Kamiya felt strange hearing that, as no one had ever called her that before. It surprised Izumi too, but he showed her kindness anyway. Kamiya realizes that as Izumi's girlfriend, Shikimori understands her feelings better than anyone. Instead of being angry, Shikimori says she doesn't want to hurt someone as kind as Kamiya, and she admits it wouldn't be fair. Kamiya promises never to tell Izumi about her feelings or anyone else. She remembers how excited she always was to meet Izumi in the library, as he's the one she loves, the only person who truly sees her, flaws and all. Tears fall as Kamiya regrets having feelings she never shared, and she feels guilty, like she's betrayed Izumi by not staying just friends. She promises to never approach him again. But suddenly Shikimori rips up the couple number and hugs Kamiya tightly, apologizing for causing her pain. She tells Kamiya a person with such a beautiful soul like her should always treasure their feelings, and Kamiya cries openly. After calming down, Kamiya tells Shikimori to go back to Izumi, and watching Shikimori walk away, Kamiya feels like the lonely princess, watching the other princess win the prince's heart. Still, Kamiya wishes them happiness, and she's glad Izumi is with someone so wonderful. The next day, Izumi prepares a gift for Shikimori's birthday and their first anniversary. At school, the festival goes well, and afterwards students party. Yui asks to see Shikimori's couple number photo, but Shikimori says she lost hers, surprising everyone. Later, Izumi invites Shikimori to the park and gives her the birthday gift. She's happy, and Izumi senses something's wrong and asks, but she says she's fine. She opens the present and sees a heart-shaped necklace. Izumi asks to put it on her, and when he does, she gets flustered. He teases her gently, promising they'll always be together. Suddenly, Shikimori says Izumi hasn't changed, which worries her, and she fears his kindness might drift him away, making others see him the way she does. She begs him not to change, but Izumi says that he has changed, and it's her who changed him for the better, and that he wants her to trust him more. Shikimori cries tears of happiness and swears that other girl will ever have him but her. Then, before going home, she asks whether she looks good, and he tells her that she looks beautiful. A few days later, Inuzuka arrives at school and meets Neko, who is panicking because Izumi got sick. But Inuzuka stays calm and says he already knew, and that Izumi even asked him to take notes for class. Just then, Shikimori appears, jealous that Izumi asked Inuzuka for help instead of her, and Inuzuka wonders why she sees him as a love rival. Later, he vents to the girls, worried about Shikimori's jealousy. They tell him that even when they get close to Izumi, Shikimori never gets jealous of them, and this makes Inuzuka think she actually hates him. Neko tells him that Shikimori recently talked about him and Izumi's close friendship, but instead of being happy, Shikimori feels jealous of Inuzuka. Inuzuka demands answers, and Neko assures him Shikimori doesn't hate him. After school, Shikimori asks Inuzuka if she can come with him to Izumi's house, and he agrees. After they leave, Neko orders Yui that she has to follow and find out what's going on. On the way, they stop at a convenience store. Shikimori wants to buy cough drops for Izumi, but can't decide which one, so she asks Inuzuka for advice. He carelessly picks one just to get things over with, but then she calls him brother and asks about some candies. Seeing a grape-flavored candy, Inuzuka picks it, but just then, they both realize that Shikimori just called him brother. Before she can explain, she runs to the cashier. After paying, she gives him the candy, telling him she knows he loves grape flavor, which he does. Outside the store, they meet Yui, who's been following them and figured out why Shikimori treats Inuzuka badly. Putting on her detective hat, Yui says it's because Inuzuka reminds Shikimori of her own big brother, who's often cold to her. Inuzuka doesn't believe it at first, but seeing Shikimori's reaction, he realizes it's true. This makes him happy, as he now knows she doesn't really hate him. Yui sees the candy and asks for some, and Inuzuka refuses, saying that he got it from a crybaby thirsty for her brother's attention. Hearing that, Shikimori shoots them a deadly look, and they quickly apologize. Days later, Shikimori and Neko hang out at a mall, and there they spot Kamiya in a bookstore. Shikimori hesitates to approach her, but Neko quickly greets her. After greetings, Neko invites Kamiya to join their girls' day out. Though Neko expects a blunt rejection, Kamiya accepts, which excites Neko, as she's never succeeded in inviting Kamiya out before. They spend the day together, picking dolls, admiring puppies, and taking group photos, posing like models. When Neko leaves for the restroom, Kamiya wants to try the claw machine. She asks Shikimori how to play, but even after Shikimori teaches her, Kamiya can't win. Shikimori takes over and wins lots of snacks, nearly emptying the arcade. Instead of keeping them, she gives the prizes to Kamiya. When Kamiya asks why, Shikimori says she did it for her, but this sparks Kamiya's competitive spirit, and she wants to return the favor. Minutes later, Neko returns and sees Kamiya happily playing with Shikimori. Seeing Kamiya smile reminds Neko of the past. Before, Kamiya always refused Neko's invites, and some friends even told Neko not to bother anymore, as they don't want to bother Kamiya too much. But today, Neko sees Kamiya smiling brightly. Neko rejoins them and is surprised at the prizes they won, which is a proof of their competitive spirits. Later, they find a basketball court, but just as they get ready to play, two rude girls tell them to leave, as they have reserved the court. Shikimori and the girls agree to go, but the strangers challenge them to a game for the right to play. The girls trash-talk Shikimori and her friends, calling them ugly fatzos. This fires up Shikimori and Kamiya, and they accept the challenge. Neko acts as referee and starts the game. The rivals fight hard, but Shikimori and Kamiya play like top pros, crushing them and winning. After the game, the rivals become friends, and everyone takes a group photo. Later, as they head home, Kamiya asks to be Shikimori's friend, and Shikimori happily agrees. On the way back, Neko says Kamiya has changed, and she's happy to see this new side of her who likes to smile, and hanging out with friends. Kamiya apologizes for always turning down invites before, and Neko says to her that she is nice, which reminds Kamiya of Izumi, making her blush. As friends, Kamiya tells Neko she can ask anything, and Neko starts by asking for her favorite snack. Kamiya says she has none because her weird taste buds makes her like glizzies dipped in milk. Then Neko Neko asks if Kamiya knows Izumi and that he's dating Shikimori. Seeing Kamiya's changed expression, Neko asks who helped her change. Kamiya can't say but tells Neko there's someone who told her to cherish her feelings, and she hopes to tell Neko who it is someday. When Kamiya smiles, it's a smile Neko has never seen before. They run off into the sunset together, with Neko hoping that one day Kamiya will truly smile from her heart. Months pass and autumn arrives. The school gears up for the big sports festival, and Izumi's class picks their relay team by lottery. When it's Izumi's turn, he silently prays that he doesn't get chosen, but Faith herself laughs and says Saika to him, making sure Izumi is in the race. Next, Yui steps up to pick her name, and she also hopes not to get picked. But Faith herself decides to do a double whammy and make sure she'll run too, so they suffer together. Then, when another student is picked, Shikimori asks to trade places so she can run alongside Izumi. Seeing the crew for the relay, Neko and Inuzuka decide to jump in too, wanting to turn it into a full team activity, and mostly just to have some fun. Shikimori tries to show off her heroic volunteering, clearly hoping Izumi will notice and hype her up, but he is too busy celebrating Inuzuka for joining the race, leaving Shikimori feeling ignored and a bit salty. Before the practice begins, the group huddles up. Yui admits she's not built for running with her short legs, and Izumi also confesses that he's far from athletic. Shikimori tries to give a cool motivational speech, but Inuzuka beats her to it, stealing the moment and annoying her. Neko lightens the mood by saying they might lose anyway, but it's all about having fun, and Izumi quietly agrees, thinking that maybe this won't be so bad after all. They start training with high spirits. Everyone seems into it except Yui, who already looks like she's accepted defeat. They figure out the running order and begin practicing. Things go okay at first, until Yui starts running slower than a grandma. And as soon as she passes the baton to Izumi, he trips and eats dirt, but he pops back up and keeps running, surprising Yui and sparking a small bit of hope in her. By the end of one practice round, Yui and Izumi look like they've been through a whole recession while everyone else is still full of energy. But Inuzuka and the rest of the team encourage them, promising to support them during the race. Later that evening, after the others leave, Izumi asks Yui to stay behind and train a little more with him since they're the weakest runners. She agrees, and they both push themselves until they collapse on the ground, completely worn out. Izumi thanks her for hanging in there, and Yui admits that she actually hates running, but she keeps going because she wants her friends to be happy. A few days later, the school sports festival finally arrives. Izumi glances over at Yui and can tell her soul already left her body. The first event is the cavalry battle, and from the sidelines, Shikimori watches Izumi show some unexpected strength and is quietly impressed, even though their team loses badly. Next up is the ball toss, and Yui joins in, still looking like a dead man walking, but with her friends cheering her on, something clicks. People in the crowd start doubting if she can even throw anything with her tiny arms, but suddenly, she goes full LeBron James on the game, nailing every shot, and ends up winning the round. She's completely drained, but once her friends start cheering, she lights up with pride. Then, it's time for the relay race. Neko and Inuzuka say a silent prayer, hoping Izumi doesn't trip this time. Yui looks nervous again, but Shikimori holds her hand and tells her she's scared too. Yui sees through the lie instantly, as she knows Shikimori's a competitor who's been waiting for this. The race starts with Neko taking the lead and absolutely destroying the opening leg. Yui gets the baton next and starts running with a face that says she's ready to chill with Michael Jackson. Her pace starts to slow, and their lead vanishes. Then she trips and falls, and for a moment she just lies there, stuck in her own head, until Izumi suddenly yells her name. She jumps up, pushes through the pain, and passes him the baton. Izumi takes off dead last. At first it seems like he's finally found a groove, until both his shoes gets yeeted. He almost gives up, but then remembers Yui saying the team was counting on him, so he keeps running in socks like he's a horse on crack. The crowd watches in stunned silence. Then Izumi hands the baton to Shikimori, and he fully believes she'll carry them to the finish line. Fueled by his belief in her, she dashes forward like a bolt of lightning, weaving through runners and blowing past everyone while the crowd loses their minds. Inuzuka watches in awe but quickly snaps back when he sees Shikimori's serious face. He realizes if he messes up, she'll probably send him to an adventure with Kazuma. Still, he chooses to trust his team and himself. The moment he gets the baton, Inuzuka kicks it into full gear. His friends shout encouragement from the sidelines, and he runs like his life depends on it. Against all odds, he crosses the finish line first. Their team wins, and the whole squad erupts with joy. Izumi runs straight to Shikimori and hugs her tight, telling her she's the coolest girl in the world. Yui watches them with a smile, feeling grateful. As for once, she doesn't mind how hard it was. She just feels lucky to have such amazing friends in her life. Years ago in the Izumi household, it's just a normal morning. Izumi's mom, Motoko, always looking amazing, wakes him up for school. Young Izumi heads out and almost gets hit by a bicycle, but instead of freaking out, he just brushes it off like it's another ordinary day. At school, the nurse patches him up and tells him not to worry about the upcoming field trip because she'll be there too. During gym class, some classmates invite Izumi to join their group for the trip. He hesitates, knowing his bad luck, but they say it's okay. After school, while walking home, a giant teddy bear almost breaks one friend's neck. Izumi instantly knows his bad luck caused it. Because of that, he decides not to go on the trip, but instead he visits a temple and prays hard, begging the gods to give him the strength to endure all the pain. Read the script please. Take the scene from 510. Back in the present, Izumi walks home with Shikimori. He tells tells her how much he likes just being with her away from everyone else. He asks her out again, saying it's been a while since their last date. First he suggests a spa, and Shikimori is fine with that. But then he switches to an amusement park, and when he shows her a video of a couple kissing at the amusement park, Shikimori really wants to go, as she's eager to do the same. A few days later, Shikimori is at the mall with her brother Fuji, who's there to drive her and accompany her. They split up so Shikimori can shop, but she can't decide which look will make Izumi fall in love with her more, so she leaves the store empty-handed. Suddenly she runs into Fuji, caught between two flirty girls trying to get him to come home with them. Shikimori sees how shy Fuji is and pulls him away to save him. When the girls ask who she is, Shikimori just stares, and they back off, thinking she's Fuji's girlfriend. Fuji is embarrassed that his little sister had to save him, and Shikimori teases him for being a scrub who can't bag a baddie, which annoys Fuji. In their past, younger Shikimori used to practice karate with Fuji, and she easily gets beaten. To tease her, Fuji called her trash, which also pushed her to get better. At home, their strict mom, who's a horrible cook, makes burnt food, but when Fuji eats it, Shikimori always follows his example. Then Fuji tells Shikimori he won't come to her dojo anymore, and she'll have to go on her own. Their mom asks if Shikimori will keep doing karate, crediting Fuji for sparking her interest, and Shikimori says yes, happy to make her mom proud. At school, some girls get bullied by annoying guys. When Shikimori shows up ready to tack them a lesson, the boys get scared and leave. The girls thank her and say the boys probably have a crush on Shikimori, but she doesn't understand what romance is at all. Years later, Shikimori's still at karate class and faces Fuji in a match. She thinks she can win, but Fuji easily beats her, saying she's still trash. Afterwards, they walk home, and Fuji asks what kind of umbrella she uses. She doesn't know, as she just follows whatever's popular, and that annoys Fuji. Then Fuji surprises her by declaring that he's quitting karate, even though he's the champion. Shikimori's annoyed he just does whatever he wants, but Fuji tells her she needs to find her own path, not follow him, their mom, or anyone else. The next day at school, a friend asks Shikimori if she reads manga. She says no, but admits she sometimes reads her brother's manga. Her friend gets excited and lends her a new manga. Then, reading it alone in her room, Shikimori feels her heart race at the romantic story and thinks how wonderful romance can truly be. Days later, Shikimori wins a karate tournament and qualifies for nationals, but instead of competing, she tells her friends she's quitting karate to experience romance. She starts dressing up, uses contact lenses to look cuter, and works out to lose weight, all to transform into who she wants to be. Months later, it's her debut as a cute schoolgirl, and she has one mission in mind: find a guy worth dating. That's when she spots Izumi standing awkwardly next to a janitor, staring up at a tree. Turns out his exam ticket got blown into the branches. The janitor offers to grab a ladder, but Shikimori steps in and says she'll climb up and get it herself. Izumi freaks out, worried something bad might happen, especially since he knows how cursed his luck is, but she climbs up anyway and grabs the ticket like it's no big deal. He thanks her for the save, but Shikimori tears up, realizing she made herself look manly in front of a boy. A few days later, the two cross paths again at school. Izumi goes up to thank her for helping him out, and while they talk, he casually mentions his never-ending bad luck. Then he says he's really glad he got to see her again, and that simple line hits Shikimori hard, making her heart beats faster. As he tries to leave, flustered, she stops him and asks for his name. That ends up being the real start of everything between them. Now back in the present, Shikimori opens up to her brother about how she still sometimes struggles with self-doubt. Even with how far she's come, she admits she doesn't always feel pretty enough. While they're out shopping, she notices a fancy lipstick in one of the stores, one she really likes but doesn't buy due to the price. Her brother Fuji watches her and starts to reflect on how much she's grown. He remembers the little sister who used to tag along behind him, and now here she is, full of her own dreams and confidence. That night, as Shikimori is getting ready for a date, she finds that same lipstick sitting on her desk with a note from Fuji wishing her good luck, and she realizes that he bought it for her. The next day, she wears the lipstick with a smile and heads out to meet Izumi, leaving behind a brother who couldn't be more proud of the person she's become. At the amusement park, Izumi waits excitedly for his date, as he's been planning everything perfectly. When Shikimori arrives, looking stunning in her blazer, Izumi can't help but feel his heart race. They head inside, and Shikimori looks a little lost about where to start. But Izumi sticks to his plan and takes her costume shopping first. He offers her some furry ears to wear, but Shikimori isn't a fan. Still, when Izumi says how much he wants to see her in them, she gives in and agrees to try some costumes. Then, instead of the ears, she pulls out a Dracula cape, adjusts it perfectly, and Izumi loves the look. Next, they try to ride the Sleeping Beauty attraction, but see the wait is 90 minutes long. They both feel a little discouraged, but to lighten the mood, Izumi uses his smooth talk and charms Shikimori by chatting about the ride. But when she admits she doesn't really know the Sleeping Beauty story, Izumi is surprised, and Shikimori says she prefers comics where Superman claps Batman while Goku watches from a closet. Izumi asks if she has any dreams, but Shikimori turns the question around, teasing him by saying her dream is already real because she has Izumi as her boyfriend. While others suffer waiting in line, Izumi and Shikimori wait happily, talking for the whole 90 minutes. When they finally get on the ride, Shikimori is amazed by the Sleeping Beauty story, having never seen it before. Izumi, on the other hand, gets bored and falls asleep. She notices him snoozing just as the prince kisses Sleeping Beauty. When she tries to follow the story by kissing him, the ride ends. Later, Izumi suggests they pick a ride with a shorter wait next time, but Shikimori says she doesn't care about the ride, as long as Izumi is the main event. They run off to their next adventure and spend the whole day having fun. Then bad luck strikes, and Izumi's restaurant reservation gets cancelled because of a mistake. He thinks the dinner plan is ruined, but the restaurant surprises them with a nicer table. They feel out of place, especially Izumi in his chopped-looking jacket. But when the food comes, the tension melts away. Shikimori asks Izumi to look into her eyes and say what he sees. Hesitant, he replies that he sees himself, and she smiles, happy with that answer. Izumi returns the favor, telling her he only sees her, which makes Shikimori melt. After dinner, Izumi asks what she wants to do next, and she says she wants to do what they saw in the commercial. He agrees, surprising her, but he actually doesn't know what she means. She's a little disappointed but reassures him she's still having fun. They take a boat ride to enjoy the night view, but just as they try to take a selfie, the lights go out due to a power failure. Using their phones for light, Shikimori holds Izumi's hand and kisses it, and this makes Izumi's knees weak. She tells him how happy she is, as it feels like a dream she never wants to end, where it's just the two of them. Izumi steps up his game and suddenly kisses her cheek. She melts, and then he leans in harder, telling her how much he loves her and wants to be with her forever. The lights come back on, but Shikimori refuses to let go of Izumi, as she doesn't want this beautiful dream to end. The next day, Inuzuka notices something's different about Izumi, who nervously thinks about what he did to his girlfriend the day before. Meanwhile, Neko and Yui quiz Shikimori about what happened. When Yui guesses that Izumi kissed her, Neko freaks out at the thought of it. Shikimori spills the tea, disappointing the girls that Izumi didn't have the guts to go further, but she says she wants to keep an open heart for him, to get closer and think about the future together. Comment down below, cool and cute if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.